to do a recap. Okay, let's try and start again. Okay, this is OK here. I thought it'd be nice to do a recap of my 8 games in the Lichess 45-45 league, which has just finished. My team came 13th out of 40 teams, and I was board 2. And I thought I'd just run through some of the games and look at some of the analysis that I did of those games, and maybe the next time I'm in these openings I won't make the same mistakes, or I'll learn from these games, because these were slow games, so I really had a chance to think. So 45 plus 45, 45 minutes of time for each player, and they're also against similarly rated opponents. So okay, so in game 1 I was against Maurice 95, and we'll see that it was a French defense, so excuse all the excessive arrows. Okay, so he went for this La Bourdonnais variation of the French defense with e4, f4, and I knew he would, because I'd looked at his past games. So I'd actually prepared fairly extensively, but then I didn't necessarily then play my own preparation. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, here he went bishop d3, which I think is good. So this is a common. It looks slightly strange putting the bishop in front of the d pawn, but it's a reasonable thing to do. And the idea is that bishop's going to make these doubled pawns, and they create a slight weakness, but actually the black light squared bishop will defend everything. So hi there, Burak Yarol in the chat. So I'm just having a look at these league games. Now the season's over. There were 8 games I played. I'm going to just have a quick run through these 8 games and try and learn something. So bishop d3 is very reasonable. Another way of playing it is going d4. And I think, yeah, so this is something else which I was looking at. And in this position, so if I just open up the opening explorer, so c takes d4 was played, queen b6 was played. So what's the idea of queen b6? So the idea is to delay white from castling. The a7. Yeah, I'm just trying to work out why is that. Okay, so a7, g8 diagonal, opening the c and d file, swapping light squared bishops, and pushing the a and h pawns are ideas for black. Okay, so these are all lots of different ideas. Yeah, this diagonal. This has been a while since I had it. So open up the center quickly. He can't castle. Open up the center quickly. Swap off this light squared bishop is another idea. The queen's helping defend this, and pushing the a and h pawn. So these are all possible ideas for black in this kind of position. But we didn't go down this route. But this is a sort of sample game. But I don't know. This is a game played between Liu Shanglin as white and Lupulescu as black, and yeah, it's quite often you get exchange sacks in these sorts of positions. I'm not quite sure exactly why. And here white's sacking back the exchange. Anyway, and just this game continued. And in this particular game, black happened to win. But yeah, so that was one way of playing it. And then the other way of playing it is going for c takes d4 first. I mean, this seems reasonable, and so this could be one setup. So the knight's defended. So there's this sort of setup that you could get, and another setup you could get is if instead of bishop e2, white goes bishop d3, and the same sort of. So there's these sorts of ideas. But he goes for bishop d3, castles, and in this position I had been hi there, Hydrosuit. So many arrows. Is this normal? Yeah. So this opening here is quite normal in the La Bourdonnais variation of the French, where white starts with e4, f4, and we're just doing a recap of these league games. So this was my prep. I mean, I thought he might go bishop d3. I'd seen it before as a potential opening line. If you look at the opening explorer, well, it's been played once before. Apparently in this position, black plays knight h6, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, but okay. But it's interesting. Yeah, I've seen him play a similar opening to this, and f6 is possible, and queen b6 is also possible. I think f6 is better. So the computer actually quite likes this knight h6 move. And I guess the idea is to reroute knight eventually, but it seems a little strange. No, it's not. I guess it's because this knight on h6 can never be targeted by a bishop, and it's stopping the any b4 push. So okay, there is some logic to knight. I hadn't actually even considered knight, so maybe I should just insert this possibility of knight to h6, which I hadn't even considered. So just to run through a sample game in knight h6. Yeah, this is normal chess. It will disappoint my Crazy House fans, but listen up. In 1 hour and 35 minutes, we have Little Plotkin against High Contrast in the Crazy House World Championship, and that's a round 5 match. So the winner will be a candidate. So that's very exciting. That's only in just over 1.5 hours. So okay, this was and this ended in a draw. So this is a knight h6 way. So what was the technique? Yeah. So knight h6. I guess the idea was knight h6, f6, and this, and yeah, eventually f5 even. Okay, so that's another way things could have gone. Yeah, this is quite heavily analysed because I'd had a lot of variations. Okay, but I think I should have gone f6 here. I've done lots of kind of preparation of this sort of position. f6 takes, and white can take with the pawn instead, but yeah, okay, knight takes. Okay, so this is quite an equal position. This would be quite a good kind of starting position, I think, if you want to play this sort of setup to train against the computer. That's what I meant by PSP. What does it mean? PSP means not sure, something position. Yeah, and the idea was actually, I prepped actually this, that f takes e5, and I've completely forgotten this. F takes e5 immediately is a mistake because of f4 followed by g5. And black can start a big kingside attack. Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's just run through this. This was the stuff I'd prepped, but you'll see this is not the stuff I played in the game at all. It's a big attack, and this is just a sample of the kind of thing that could happen. It's not the best computer lines. It's just a kind of sample of the kind of, you're bringing all your pieces into play, and yeah, it's all over. Okay, so that's just an interesting variation. Now, c takes d4. Yeah. C takes d4 instead of f takes e5. So instead of f takes e5, so you could set this trap, but you could also go c takes d4 first and then take here. Again, knight takes e5, okay, or f takes e5. They're both valid. Bishop f6. Interesting pawn sack idea which brings both black bishops alive. Oh yeah, this is stuff I was... Okay, yes, this is very interesting. You take here, takes, bishop here, and then I'm losing a pawn here. But interestingly, I go check, and the other bishop's also going to come... Well, okay, it's not clear here, but the point is both these bishops become very active. So that was one line. Another line was knight b3. You put the bishop on f6 potentially. Yeah, okay. So black is a pawn down, but or you put the bishop on a6. I mean, these are sort of things I was actually thinking about before the game. And okay, so hi there, Andrejil. Knight h6 is a common move in the Bordernet, he says. Yes, so Plotkin is playing against contrast. Yeah, knight h6 is a common. Why is Obi not a mod? He can be, but my two mods at the moment are Hydrosuit and Baku's. So I'm happy. I'm happy at the moment with that. Okay, so this is just all running through variations for stuff that might have happened, but let's get straight to what actually did happen in the game. So yeah, so here, yeah, like Obi said, knight h6 was an idea. f6 was actually an idea I'd heavily prepped, but then didn't play, which was a shame. But what instead I played is queen b6, which looks good because you're putting the queen on this diagonal of the king, and yeah, it looks good. Okay, king h1, very sensible. Now f6. We're going to try and break open the center. Takes, and so we're in a very familiar position. d4, I take on here, c takes d4, knight f takes d4. Now, when I saw this move, knight f takes d4, then I was quite happy because I saw, this is nice, I'm going to be winning a free pawn. And so I take. So when I take this, so he can't, let me see. He could have just taken here directly. So why does this not work? If you were to take here, takes, and then take here, why does that not work? So for the moment, I'm just checking we're 2 pawns down. Yeah, so both sides are 2 pawns down, but this is quite good for black. I guess this pawn is very hard to defend, but this is not obvious to me because can't you use a bishop to defend it or something like this? Okay, that doesn't really work. Can you use like a rook to defend it? Potentially, but this position is not good. These apparently the black pawns can start rolling potentially. There's a majority on the king side. Yeah, I'm happy with you as mod Hydrosuit. So yeah, so when they saw this in the game, I was quite happy that I just won a free pawn. But as you'll see, both my central pawns are extremely weak, and it's quite shocking. I think even Loveless was watching the game and he said, Black has just played normal moves, and yet suddenly finds himself he's lost both his pawns. It's like, okay, so what should I have done? There was something I should have done. So knight e3, attacking both these pawns. Bishop e6 is very reasonable. Knight d takes f5. So possibly at this point I should have gone queen to d8 to protect this d pawn. So then I don't lose the second pawn. My bishop's under attack. Okay, so the idea is if queen d8, if he takes, he can't afford to take this pawn because yeah, why can't he take this pawn? Oh yeah, because of this. So there's a little tactic there which maybe I missed. So my bishop's under attack, so I have to move the bishop. He suddenly wins my next pawn, and maybe yeah I can't do any pin ideas because the queen's under attack. So I take, king out the way, and suddenly I'm a pawn down, but with quite active pieces. And with this move, he's okay. So he's got 2 attackers on my piece. So maybe he had better moves here, such as bishop e3. It's maybe better. Queen c6. This would have been maybe he's just a clear pawn up here. But he went for this, which gives me. So now I've got ideas of maybe winning an exchange, maybe doing if he lets me doing knight here check, king here, knight here, discover check, king back in the corner, queen here, rook takes, and knight here checkmate. What I didn't realize when I had all these ideas is that White actually has a similar plan of doing the same to me, which is quite funny. So knight g4 maybe wasn't the best move. So maybe this is rook h d8 slightly better move, but yeah, I had these. I had plans. So I did this. Queen f3. But actually, so if he does h3, interestingly, and I do this, he doesn't have to take, he could just go here, and that knight is quite hard to get that knight out again. You could try and defend it, but yeah, I mean, sort of, it's possible, but yeah, it's possible that knight is actually dropping at some point. The knight would have been almost trapped, and white was planning the same idea with knight d6, knight f7, so rook e8 would be a blunder. So after king h2, I can't do rook. Yeah, if I did a move like rook e8, then obviously it just goes knight here, and white is significantly better. Yeah, so this idea was not h3. H3 I think was very annoying in this position, but he just brings the queen back. I can't exchanges it off. Bring it back. Okay, so at this point, yeah, he gives me a free pawn, probably thinking you're just going to win it back. And the one thing I'm obviously really worried about in this position is g7. And this is why I don't take this pawn. I'm very concerned about the rook taking this and the triple attack on g7. What I didn't realize is that, and so if the queen takes this pawn, then I've got a triple defense, the king, the bishop, and the queen. But what I didn't realize is if I do queen takes pawn here, rook takes pawn, I have a mate in one threat. Oops. Yeah, or here. I'll delete queen e2. So I have a mate in one threat to get my queen back onto this diagonal defending g7. And now this is suddenly good for black. So I didn't recognize this, so I didn't snatch up this pawn. Instead, I went for this pawn, which I thought was safer, exchange off queens, and enter a kind of drawish endgame. And so it proved. It was a drawish endgame. Played on for a bit to try and make some headway. Things got even a little bit risky at some point because I lose a pawn. But I was going for some kind of mating ideas, which obviously didn't have any chance of working. But I was just somehow trying to trap that king, and we eventually went into a repetition. Neither side can really make progress, even though white is a pawn out. So that was game one. Okay, so now looking at game two. So game two, I'm white in game two, and we enter a queen's gambit. Oh yeah, so he does this move. I don't think is. I mean, objectively, I don't think this is good because it gives white a very nice big center, but and without the fianchetto Grunfeld bishop staring down the long diagonal, which is not so nice. Okay, he's trying to set up this Grunfeld bishop. Okay, now here, because I'm afraid of the Grunfeld bishop, I do this weird bishop rerouting idea, which, I mean, if you look at the Opening Explorer, this has never been played before. So perhaps objectively it's not so good, but my idea was I want to exchange off these dark squared bishops to weaken black's dark squares. Yeah, what I realized in retrospect is this slows down white's development. It's actually the white king in the center, which is just taking too many moves, and black can actually launch an attack through the center. So as you see, this is my big plan. Just and I thought, look, this looks like a terrible pawn structure, but actually it's fairly safe. So white's developed his queen side, but black's just going to open up the center, and this is not good. In fact, so really even better for black would have been e6. Just opening up the center. Breaks open the center to attack the white king. But okay, it's still fairly equal. And here I went for a tactic. I thought, oh, this bishop's trapped. I can just trap it. It looks trapped. But unfortunately it doesn't work because he can attack the white queen, and if the queen goes to here, he can attack it again, and I can't guard. I can't keep watch over this pawn, so I have to release the bishop. So I've completely weakened my pawn side structure on the king side, and I haven't got the piece I wanted. And this was a huge mistake. This is a huge blunder. Bishop to g2. Because the threat if he had seen it, would have been bishop here to stop me from castling, and rook here. And this king is not going kingside; it has to go queenside, right into these files. This would have been, although it's only minus 1.3, this would be an end of game. Hydrosuit, you're too kind. So this was it's, oh, I just lost all the arrows, but you've seen them. So bishop to e2, actually still equality, although this pawn isn't ideal. It's, I mean, yeah, white's, this would at least maintain equality. I mean, if knight e5, knight takes e5, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, f2. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the line would be, but probably the queens would be exchanged, and maybe h3 would come and defend that pawn. This was a huge tactical miss on my part, and on his part, because he plays rook to c8, completely letting me off the hook. So actually, I play through the line for bishop to c4. It's a complete disaster. The king just has to run. Rook to c8, b3, queen to e7. This would be the sort of, can't even understand this move. Bishop to f1, what's the idea of this? Oh, I see, just opening up the rook file, the idea is you take it, I mean, there is the queen's going down, so I mean, it's just, there's nothing, I mean, really nothing you can do. If even if you take this out in his earlier position, if you just take this hanging bishop, that doesn't, you've got knight takes pawn check. Yeah, and this is very interesting. This knight is protected, and the threat is the queen is just going to come and invade. And there's nothing you can do. It's just it's a losing position for white. So I got really lucky. So that was my one lucky break, really, in a way. This game, he takes this pawn. What's the idea? So he can take my knight. Okay, so he wins a pawn. Nice, but might get my king safe, which is really the key. And then with this move, he loses the game because he steps into a potential monster fork, and it's just very hard. It's very hard to stop everything. And okay, he attacks my queen. I still got that threat, so I just move the queen out the way. Okay, so now it's protected, but I can just push the knight out the way to reinvigorate the threat. And yeah, so I win an exchange. Check. So I was just thinking active rook, activate my rooks, grab the file, don't let him grab anything. Yeah, I think this is all. I'm trying to just convert in as clean a way as possible. At this point, when he goes king h3, I'm thinking possible checkmate ideas. So here I'm threatening a mate in 1 with rook h3 mate, almost mate. And this is a nice way of finishing it. So I'm attacking the knight, but let me see. So I'm threatening this knight, so that's a whole piece, but I'm also threatening takes, and rook here, checkmate. He can move the knight out the way, but he just lets me take this knight and take back. So I get 2 pieces for the rook, and okay, now I'm a piece up. So I need to do some stuff with fairy. You need doing it sometimes and listening, sometimes just watching, and you made peace with grind. Well, glad to hear it, Hydro Suit, because it's good there's peace in the bug house world. And I'm sure Fairy and Grind are both great partners. And yeah, I'm glad you could drop by. So that was game 2. So it was a victory in the second game. I got a very lucky break from this, that he missed this bishop to c4 idea. That would have killed me. And as you'll see in these games, I had fairly good results, but I had a lot of lucky breaks. So in game 3, I'm black, and I was expecting an exchange King's Indian. So I prepared a lot for an exchange King's Indian, but instead I got a Smyslov King's Indian with e3 instead of e4, which I've seen very rarely, and I had planned if this happened to go for c5, but I didn't really know how to play this sort of thing as well. But we're still following opening theory for now. So rerouting this knight to c7, because actually quite often in this Smyslov type thing, the idea is you go, before white goes h3, you go pawn there, knight here, and take off this bishop. But I don't like that idea so much, because what I felt was I quite like the idea of pushing the bishop back, but then I'm quite happy to leave it dangling there. I didn't want to go further and go g5 also. So instead I'll just continue with my other stuff. So let's see where we depart from openings. So this is all good. So bishop d3 is not opening theory. So maybe more usual would be knight to d2 apparently, or bishop to e2. If I just play bishop to e2, because bishop to e2 looks sensible, just to give a flavour. What would I play as black here? Maybe knight to c7 looks good. I'll just sort of insert this game as a sort of sample game of this Smyslov, because hopefully it'll give some ideas of what to play in this kind of setup. Yeah, so you're going for so in this particular game he's going for more of a queenside attack rather than kingside attack. Yeah, so it's interesting how, as a classical King's Indian player, you're used to going on this kingside attack, but with that bishop defending the kingside, it's maybe the queen side is a little bit weaker, and so you go for more of a queenside attack. I mean, this is just one game. Perhaps there are others. Let's just insert this one as another example, just to try and get a better feel for. So he goes knight to d2. Okay, so how does black win a game against this Smyslov? Okay, again, he's going for a queenside attack. So it's important to attack on the right side of the board. So you understand the structure and attack on the right side of the board. And clearly an attack along this b file is really important in this structure, because we've just seen 2 games and that seems to be the pattern. Okay, so white gets completely out. I mean, it's a pretty tight game and then you just get swindled. But it's just the dominant black pieces in that particular. But you see again an attack along the queen side. Okay. Okay, I'm glad to hear things are okay. I'd say one should always just be yourself, be respectful of everyone, and okay, but instead he does this bishop d3, which objectively is not usually as good. Now why is it? Now usually it's not as good because of the danger of the e5 push and then e4 forking knight and bishop. So there's always that kind of threat in the air. But it's reasonable. But now here this is not good for white. So I've just won white's central pawn. Now, this is very interesting. So I'm doing very nicely here. He thinks he has a tactic to win my knight. And I make a big blunder here because, so what he should have done here, we all see, is he should have just gone something like here, check, exchange off queens, and yeah, it's a fairly level position. I might be a pawn up. Instead, he tries to sacrifice his bishop. And this sacrifice doesn't work because I can simply go queen a5 check. If he blocks with the queen, I can exchange off queens and then take his bishop. If he moves his king, I can queen takes pawn check. He moves again. Queen takes pawn, again attacking his rook. Queen, I can move my knight in here, now attacking his queen. So if he takes my queen, I take his queen. If bishop there check, I do not want to take that bishop because otherwise he could check me and then take my queen. So I simply sidestep. Takes. So this is completely winning. For black, I've just won a piece. But you have to play this queen a5, and despite thinking for a very long time on this move, I played this move protecting the knight, because I didn't want to lose this. I thought, which is a better piece, my knight or his bishop? I thought, well, my knight's better. So I went for this. He withdraws the bishop, and then I win the pawn. I thought, yeah, I'm just winning a pawn. He's winning my pawn, I'm winning his pawn. Yeah, this is okay. But I missed winning a piece. And then here, in this position, Yeah, I was in half a mind to take this rook, but I was always a little bit wary of. He's kind of somehow got his king safe, which is a bit annoying. I was a bit wary of putting his queen on this long diagonal with no dark squared bishop. So I'm a little bit scared of that, and I went f5. And the reasoning for going f5 is I want to block off his bishop from targeting the h7 square. I was very concerned both his bishops are looking very powerful. Yeah, I could have just done this, and this is fine. The thing is, I'm really scared of these. I'm really scared of these pieces. But the thing is that this is actually playable. You can somehow queen to d7, rook to d1, f5. So, and you can block off the file and then get the king out of the way. But it's not very nice position to play. But what I played with f5 just completely missed. If you're going to play it, move that f pawn, you have to watch out for the bishop rerouting itself to the diagonal where the king is. And I just completely missed this move because now the knight is under a double attack, but it's only defended once. Okay, so I take the rook, but he takes. Yeah, and he's just won a piece. This is a complete disaster. And in this position, he has a tactic which completely wins, which is, rook. Yeah, moving the rook. I thought I've got 3 pieces on the back rank, no harm in moving one off. And the reasoning for that is just secure up the defense of e7. King h7 is much stronger. He takes, putting my queen in. This sort of thing is much stronger. Okay, I'm a piece down, but okay. Instead, I move the rook to f7, and now that rook is pinned. I know this, but I just thought. Again, now I'm moving the rook away so I can move the queen. Okay, but what I didn't realize is he has this move here, bishop takes. And now the rook can't take it. If the queen takes it, he's taking this rook. Check. Check again. And basically, once the checks are finished, he can then take off this bishop. Completely missed it. That's game over. He gives me a little bit of a chance. So he's rerouting his knight, threatening knight here, for example, which is nasty. So I get my queen out of the way of the pin. And again, he has bishop takes e7 ideas. Yeah, because I can't retake because the rook is pinned. Okay. So what I do is I offer the exchange of queens because I realize that his queen is the monster piece in this position. And in this position, I went here. And my reasoning was, look, I'm attacking his knight, I'm attacking his bishop. This is a fork. Isn't that great? But he has a defense. He can attack my rook and block the attack on the bishop. So it's a complete fail. So I go for a mate in 1. He notices. Kill dommage. Okay, I try and attack his bishop. He attacks back my rook. I go to the g file. Okay, so I'm just trying to get some counterplay. Also, he can't take this pawn. Okay, he can take this pawn, but then I'm hoping to maybe exchange off rooks. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. He could have just taken this pawn. So yeah, it would be rook to be. Hang on. If he took the pawn, I would. Yeah, rook here. I assume takes king here. Yeah. So I mean, this would have been another position, but rook against bishop and knight. Yeah, this would have been rook against bishop and knight, but 2 pawns down. Okay, but instead he moves. Okay, he moves his rook out. Okay, now basically this is me going for. Like I've got no hope in this position apart from this pawn. So I'm just going to. We're probably both quite low on time at this point. Okay, but now he has an amazing move in this position. I should turn off the engine, but you can all see it. Yeah, white has a very good move in this position. If I just flip the board and yeah, so white to play in this position if people see it later and pause on this point. But you've probably seen the position already, seen the computer. So turning back, turning the engine back on, queen here, check. And the idea is if you take this queen, free queen, right? Rook here, check. Notice how the bishop guards this square and the knight guards these two light squares. So you're forced to go here, and then rook here is checkmate. Yeah, nice. No, but I think that's an impossible. To me, that's an impossible one to see. Queen e6. And if you don't take it, if you just move out of the way, he could just take the rook, or he could go check, check. Okay, the point is, if he comes back, queen here is checkmate, and if he blocks, well, it's coming. Checkmate is coming. So there's mate in 5 on the board, but queen e6 is not an easy move to see. Neither of us watched it during the game. He plays this, and this is terrible because I'm like, he's offering an exchange of queens. His queen is the biggest menace in this position. I am so glad to exchange off queens. What I didn't realize is I can just simply take this knight, and he can't take back, or I take his queen. So he's just given me a free piece. This is a complete disaster move from him, but I didn't notice. I just go for the queen, exchange, and then I go, I pinned your 2 pieces. And again, it's just not true. It's not true because he can go rook here, and protect both pieces. Instead, he does rook here, and I'm just like, really? Takes? If he takes with the bishop, I take the knight. If he takes with the knight, I take the bishop. Either way, I've got a rook against a piece and the passed pawn. He's not winning this. Game over. I mean, the game ended at this point. Rook takes. He knows it's over. And it's over because this pawn can't be stopped. Even if the bishop gets back, I'm just rerouting. This is game over. A completely losing game for me. But in time pressure, I said the one way of me winning was this pawn. Yeah. This pawn and just time pressure. He played. I mean, this is a disaster move from him. Rook here allows me to exchange off. It doesn't do anything to protect these pieces. So I just got extremely lucky in game 3. In game 4, I'm going to be white, and it's going to be another King's Indian, but it's going to be a classical type King's Indian. Actually, it's not, because black doesn't play g6. So it's going to be a King's Indian with the black bishop on e7, which is rather... I guess I'd like to know more about this sort of structure. And for some reason, yeah. So e4, e5. So quite common in this. I mean, the computer would prefer just to take this and play a pawn up. Something like this. It's an open position to pawn up. I opted to avoid taking it. c5. And so at this point he could go c4. I'm not sure if this is better or worse, but this is just another variation you could do, trying to challenge this center. But he goes for c4. To be honest, oops, this is. I mean, it gives white a big center, but it's basically a King's Indian type structure with a slightly different bishop. Yeah, so I've got a few annotations. Later, okay, so what do we do in the King's Indian? We attack on the queen side. So I said, okay, let's attack. But the big difference is this bishop seems to look a little bit different from when the bishop's on g7. It seems a little bit more active. Okay, so I'm just going to continue my attack on the queen side, getting a little bit concerned about that queen, but yeah, so what have I missed? Knight c7. So it's just saying he could have also gone rook f6 immediately with this sort of idea, but okay. I mean, this is just another line. Okay, knight d7, king gets out of the way. Yeah, I thought this was a good move, getting out of the way, but apparently what knight a4 is better, with the idea being you put a treble attack over on this pawn on c5. It forces maybe either the queen to come back, so you get this sort of position, or b6 to be, well, actually, and b6 turns out to be a mistake because of, now why is it a mistake? Knight takes b6, knight takes knight, and then take this. And the idea is if the pawn takes, queen takes, and it's not possible to defend both these knights. There's no move that actually defends both those knights. So that's an interesting knight sack, which I don't think I'd have spotted, actually, to be honest. So that's why that's actually the reason why knight a4 is powerful. This b6 doesn't work, and yeah, you'd have to play this, and you get this sort of position. This opening up the b file. I've sent the queen away from the white king, so yeah, this works. Okay, instead I go king h1 because I didn't realize b6, and I put the rook on my g file, and he's laying up his forces on my G and H files. I'm a little bit worried. And it turns out, yeah, G3 was possibly better than G4. But the idea is I'm providing lateral defensive of H2. So it looks like he's going to double up on the H file. I need to get something working quickly on the B file to distract him. Always in King's Indian, you have to try and distract your opponent on the other side of the board. And here, the idea of posting up my knight on a powerful square. Okay, so queen b2, and at this point he makes a mistake. So he's okay. It looks reasonable. So it's tying the queen down to the defensive h2 by doing that. Apparently, black's best move is simply knight a8, which looks very strange, but all the squares are guarded, so there's no entry square. Stop any entry square, even though that looks really strange. This is a really bad move because this here forces rook here, and the rook is trapped. Now, why is the rook trapped? Here takes, queen takes, knight here. Okay, so it's not the queen is trapped. I mean, yeah. Actually, the queen is invading in this position. It's the queen is kind of trapped off. There's no time. So white is invading on the queen side, and black just doesn't have time to do anything. It's yeah, you can attack both those pieces, and you can only defend one. So the white's invading, and this is sort of cutting the black queen off from coming back and defending. So this is completely lost. So it's actually not trapping the black rook. That's not quite. It's actually, if anything, trapping the black queen. Well, I'll say it cuts off the black queen. I think that's the key. It cuts off the black queen. That's why it's really powerful. Okay, but I missed this. Queen gets back. Knight is posted up. Queen is invading. Okay, so we can exchange. Now again, this is really important. Look, it's this position. We've entered in the endgame, and I'm aware that my time is short, and I just think, look, this is so obvious. I want to get my rook over to the B file, you know, make something happen. But it's an endgame. The moment you should get to an endgame, you should really be think not only in terms of tactic. I mean, you should be thinking. I was thinking strategically. I just need to do this. But what I missed is there's a kind of an immediate tactical shot. So I was thinking positionally. I want to get my rook over to the open file. Blah 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 blah. But I just completely missed that there's a sort of positional idea which is completely winning on the spot. Of course I want to get my rook over to that file, but there's just an opportunity which I won't have next move. This move. And this is trapping, not again. This is trapping the black rook. And I noticed it the moment I played bishop d2, I just said, oh, why didn't I do that? Because if the rook goes here, it really is trapped. And if the rook goes here, it can't get back into the. Then I can play. If the rook goes here, I can just defend that pawn, and then I can quickly do stuff on the queen side, and that rook is kind of cut off from the action. So, for example, rook g6. Yep, he tries to do this. Okay, and you can. Okay, so it really does trap it in that case. The bishop can just go in and pick up the rook. Amazing. If he does rook here. He can even. Okay, so what's the idea? Why can't he just take this? I'm confused. Oh, he doesn't have time. Yeah. So the rook, it just takes too long to get back into the action, and it's you can do this, but you're just winning a piece. So this is quite embarrassing. I just didn't notice this. So you could do something like this. Yeah, you could do this, but you're just winning check and taking a piece. Okay, so I missed this. Instead, I go for this move to bring my rook in, but this gives him time to bring his rook in, so he does. Now in this position, this is quite interesting. This is still winning for white. All black's pieces are terrible. So actually, in this, the rook is tied down to protecting the bishop. If the bishop moves back, I've got rook coming in here, attacking both pieces. So the bishop just can't develop. The knight can't develop, because if the knight develops, it blocks off the rook from protecting the bishop. Black is completely tied down. The only piece black can really move is his king, and swing the rook up and down. So what should white do? So white needs to somehow activate his pieces as quickly as possible. So that's why I'm thinking maybe I route my knight in, maybe I bring my bishop, swing it through, boom, 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 through here. The winning plan, however, as the computer is suggesting, is I should have played g5. And I haven't gone into a deep analysis, but g5, h4, and activate the bishop this way is winning for white. And it's difficult to say exactly why it's winning, but it's just the white pieces are more active, and maybe this is something I'd have liked to have analysed in more detail. But instead I didn't play this, and I think technically that my plan instead, which was coming around this way to these squares, and I wasn't sure, should the knight come here first? The problem is either the knight comes here first or the bishop comes here first, and I was still debating which one should I put on this square first. And then he does this move. He could hold a draw possibly, but he does this move. Immediately I've got a fork. He thought he could just do this. And the idea is if I take one of his pieces, come down and take my bishop, but it doesn't work. He thought he could take the knight. Okay, I take his knight, he takes my knight. I bring my king in. Attacks my bishop. He thinks he can just, take some of my pawns. Do something quite nice here. Check. Oops, his rook's trapped. So then he resigns. Okay, so a game in which maybe I was in trouble at the time when he had a big attack on my king, in slight trouble, never in complete jeopardy, but I mean, in this sort of position, yeah, definitely white was looking a bit uncomfortable. I wasn't, and definitely he hadn't done enough to deserve a draw, but somehow I managed to defend in a slightly tricky position, and in the end, I swindled a win. I mean, I swindle a win. Well, I have much more active pieces. He should be able to get a draw with best play, and I should have been able to get a win with better play. But okay, so I win that. So game 4. So I'm pretty pleased at that point because I've got 3 wins and 1 draw in my first 4 games. Oh, see you, Hydrosuit. Good luck in your next match if you have one. I have no more matches because I'm just reviewing the 8 matches in the league. I have no Crazy House matches because I'm after the Crazy House World Championship. But we're just reviewing the games. But thanks for dropping by. And by the way, 1 hour to go till a little plot going against High Contrast. So game 5. I was really tired. I'd only had about 3 or 4 hours sleep, and I had a tough opponent. But that's all excuses. I played this Queen A5. I think pawn takes pawn. It's a little trap because obviously I'm threatening pawn takes pawn. He can't take back with the pawns, so often it incites moves like bishop here, but then I can drop back and attack this pawn, and it's just a slightly annoying move. But pawn takes pawn sets a trap in return, which I've got to be careful not to fall in for, because if I take with the bishop, I suddenly find I'm falling into a fork. So I've got to take back with the queen, and this is reasonable for both black and white. I've broken up white's centre, which is nice. I've got this huge attack on the d pawn. Yeah, this move, knight d2, gave me a chance to equalize as black, and I missed it. So I really regret missing that. To win white's light squared bishop. I think this is, and now black is comfortable. I missed this tiniest of chances, and it proved to be dangerous because now white's got both his bishops staring down on my king. And again, I think in another game, what you'll see later, I have this problem of how to take back this pawn. Because it's a choice, and this is 45-45, you think for about 10 minutes. Do I take it back with the pawn, the bishop, the rook? And there are problems with every way. If you take back with the bishop, you're afraid of, this, double pawns, like a horrible kingside structure. If you take with the rook, you're afraid of this, attacking, well, I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of this sort of, takes, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is actually, let me think. Takes. Yeah, this is also looking really bad. I mean, even worse, right? Did I do something wrong? No, I think that is the line. Yeah, I think that is objectively the line. So this is just looking really good for white. So rook takes looks good because you're defending the knight, you're defending the pawn, but it just doesn't work because of this bishop coming in. So probably actually, the best move here is actually sacrificing the rook. Maybe doing something like this. Yeah, this is looking bearable. Okay. And did good black have taken the rook? Yes, I'm not sure. So that seems actually pretty decent. But I went taking the pawn. And the reasoning is to stop the bishop idea, to stop the knight coming into this nice juicy square on d5. Okay, it creates a weakness on h6, but I thought, that's okay, I can control everything. So rook f7, h5. And I knew h5 was coming, I just thought it wasn't dangerous. So knight f8, knight h4, e5. e5 probably not a good idea. So what I should have done is something like queen b6, attacking that pawn, he defends the pawn, and then exchange off light squared bishops. Because light squared bishops are a little bit of a menace. So that would have been a good plan. It's a classic French defense plan. Okay, instead I go for a break through the center, which you really have to be a little bit of a... So why did I do this? The reason I did this is because my king is weak, and I'm thinking I want to exchange off queens, and I want to bust white's kingside pawn structure. Okay, I'm losing a pawn, but I feel this is a worthwhile pawn to lose. What I didn't realize is those bishops are just going to be... And then in this position, I'm going for ideas of pushing this and going rook takes pawn, rook here, checkmate. What I didn't realize is that black has got the same ideas, but better in his position. Rook here, check. King here forced. Rook here, check. If the king goes back, he's got the other rook coming in, rook e1 check, king here, and then bishop here. So, yeah. So I go forwards, but he still goes here. And this is what I've missed. Until it landed on the board, I just didn't see this. I'm losing that rook, which is my mating idea. So I'm bringing the other rook in, pushing the only pawn I have, and I just lose that rook. Okay, so game over. Demolition. Okay, so very well played from Durch Nacht und Wind. Game 6 against, which by the way, Durch Nacht und Wind means through night and wind. And it's a reference to a poem by Goethe, so it's a very, very philosophical name, or poetic name. Okay, game 6, I'm against Nico Boy. And and I'm white, and I have another sort of King's Indian type structure, or without the bishop being on g7. Okay, so I've got another of these kind of structures, and I win a free pawn, so that's nice. So I seem to have just skipped all my analysis. So let's go a little bit earlier. Knight f3. So yeah, in this position, whoa, I've got so much analysis, which I wasn't expecting. Oh yes, so I wasn't. Yeah, so I was thinking. Yeah, I remember during this game I thought I might get a Grunfeld. So and the game was played the same day as Kayakin against Vashil Legrave earlier in the day. So I was inspired. I was going to be like was it Kayakin spelled wrong? Oops. I was going to be like Kayakin against Vashil Legrave, beating the Grunfeld. That was the plan. Yeah, this f4 push. Anyway, so I don't know anything about the Grunfeld, but it was quite an inspiring game that happened just the same day as this game, and my opponent does play the Grunfeld, so it was a possible line that could have happened. Just got to respell the Kayakin. Okay, but I mean I don't even know this line, but the idea of f takes e4, I don't really fully understand this line, and I've completely forgotten why. Oh yes, this is, yeah. He traps the bishop and goes on a big kingside attack. But anyway, but going back, I mean, so the idea is bishop to c4, knight to d2, bishop to e3, castles, takes. Okay, the idea is if he takes, this is not right. e6. Oh, I see. So if he takes back here, he takes. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. There's a threat of winning the queen. Was the point? Yes. So you can't take that pawn because of the threat of winning the queen, which is why he does this. Okay. Anyway, so this is all a very dynamic game, but we're not going down this route. I was just sort of sharing some of my preparation. Another thing he could, yeah. So this is a computer server showdown has gone straight for d5. If he does knight c6, knight f6, just push those pawns. Now this is very interesting. Now this is really interesting because this is the Mexican folklorico Knights Tango. Yeah, there are lots of traps. If white does this, there are a lot of traps. And I guess this is why the opponent plays this, because most people don't know these traps. So as an example, suppose you get this position. If bishop takes knight, knight takes d2, and you're losing a queen. So you defend. So he does queen to f6, threatening mate in 1, so you defend. Now you do this very nice move, with now a double attack on f2. But the problem is, this is not only a double attack on f2, this is also an attack on the rook. So you move the rook out of the way. And now you could just take on f2, but here, what about this? Instead, you do this, threatening a revealed attack. So the queen blocks, knight takes knight. Free queen, not on your life. Revealed check, knight takes pawn check. And this is called the Knights Tango, because the knights just creep along and push the king into the corner, and then they say, okay, I'll take your queen. And, well, unless you stop at this move, also this knight is coming in with checkmate. So that's a very nice little trap if you go pushing your pawns, it is a viable thing to do, but you have to know what you're doing. And then the other trap is in this position. If you realize bishop b2 is a bit dodgy, so instead you go bishop to g5. But here there's an even simpler trap. Takes, queen here. Can you see the trap? Checkmate. So this is something to be aware of in the Mexican two knights kind of setup. If white pushes the pawns, I knew nothing about this. I'm just playing normal looking openings and refusing all kinds of gambits. Just want to play this sort of take the space, play a nice structure. But just to look at an example, gosh, I've got all these example games. Yes, so in this position, white could go h4, h5, h4, h5, and really grab even more space. This is just an example game of grabbing even more space. Yeah, anyway. That's just one idea. Another one, queen d2. So there are just a few games I added. I haven't really analysed in detail, but okay, so that's another one. That looked to be quite a pretty game where Pragnananda was black, and actually won as black in this position. So anyway, so you got to be careful. Black, although having less space, can can pull off some nice results. And then queen c2 seems like a good thing to do. Queen d2, queen c2. We see a game between Valsecchi. Okay, anyway, so this is casting queen side, tuck the king away on the queen side. So this is another way of playing it. I don't know. I can't say. This is not really preparation at all. It's just something I looked at after the game. Yeah. So that was a white win. But anyway, I didn't know any of this. The idea you should go h4. I didn't know about this at all. So I did knight f3. If I just look at the book, yeah, h4 is not. Why am I thinking h4 is common? Yeah, I don't know why I thought h4 is. I mean, this h4 is fairly common. It's the second most common move. Bishop e3 is also common. Okay, I guess so the computer likes h4. Computer saying h4 is actually really good for white, but it's an opening, and I didn't know it. I guess if I do play that in future, I'd have to prepare it. Okay, so we enter this. Knight f4. This seems like a bad move. Yeah, bishop d4 is really nice. Just post up that bishop, and it's just, yeah, it's difficult to dislodge. Knight f4 is bad because I can just take it. Don't have to take it, but I can just take it, and it looks like that pawn is very hard to defend. So it's giving me a free pawn. But black surprisingly does have compensation for that pawn. So that's attacking the bishop as well. He drops back the bishop, I win the pawn. Okay, here, so I defend the pawn. So I play this quite well. Knight e5, takes. Yeah, now in this position, I should have played apparently bishop g4, going for an exchange of bishops. That is obviously a plan I had. He has the bishop pair, so going for an exchange of bishops is nice. And this is the reason why I didn't do it, is I was afraid of bishop d4. I actually did consider this. And you get, yeah, it's not obvious at all, but I mean, this is apparently okay for white, but it's not obvious. So instead I go for b4 straight away. Basically, I really want to keep control of the d4 square was the reasoning, and I was thinking, yeah, the bishop is pinned, maybe we can do something. Okay, but my king is on a nasty diagonal of the bishop, so I just get my king out of the way. Queen c2 apparently is a nicer move, just keeps everything under control. Rook a3 would be a terrible move, by the way, or any move like queen a4 would be a terrible move because you just win a free piece. Queen a4 would be even worse, or queen, yeah, at any point, moving anything piece onto that diagonal. So that's why I'm getting the king out of the way of these threats. Now I can go rook a3. Okay, now here I do what I think is quite an interesting move, knight a4. It looks sort of a little bit dangerous because I'm putting the knight in a pin, but I calculated, I thought it was okay. And here, yeah, apparently the best moves, so c5 gives back the pawn and hands the quarter. So c5 might have been a nice way of doing things. So I lose a pawn, but I maintain position. So that would have been okay. opponent got even better moves. King to g1. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. I just don't understand that. I just really can't see how king g1 is good. But okay. I did g3, which looks sensible. And then the move I was really, really scared of is queen f6. But the reason I was scared of it is because it attacks my bishop, and I'm afraid of bishop takes f2 next. What I didn't realize is he can't do bishop takes f2. Because if he does bishop takes f2, the bishop is simply pinned. I pick it up. I just didn't notice that. He can do bishop to d4 or something, and this sort of thing happens. Yeah, it's really messy. I don't know what's happening exactly. You get this sort of, yeah. So complete draw apparently, but yeah. But I didn't realize it was a complete draw. So when he did queen f6, I'm very happy because I can put my my queen on this diagonal. My bishop's not under attack. He goes bishop h3. Move rook out. He takes the free pawn. Okay, so I'll give that pawn. Rook e2. Now here, yeah, I didn't notice this at all. Sort of sacrificing this pawn because he can just win those pawns back in his own time. And those double pawns are just weak. b5. The idea being if I do something like taking the bishop, he takes the knight, takes. Yeah, maybe that would be also. Maybe wouldn't be so good. I'm not sure. Okay, I think I've overanalyzed this. I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, he moves his bishop back, takes, and bring my queen back in to the fray. Queen e3. Yeah, again, this is really critical. If I go e5, I block off the queen from entering, and I got equality. Okay, what I actually did is a bit of a mistake because I did this. I thought centralizing my queen, but I'm allowing yeah, rook a8 is very strong. He'll go rook a8 eventually. A move later. Rook c2. So yeah, e5. E5 is still really a good move. Maybe even winning chances. But I don't see it. I go rook to c2, thinking if he goes queen to a1 check, I'll defend with the rook. Rook a8, and now, yeah, this is a problem because I can't. If he goes rook a1, there's exchange of rooks, then suddenly my bishop's hanging. So I have to put my rook there to begin with. Okay, that's a bad move. Turns out queen to c3 is my only defense at this point. And then if he goes rook a1, king f2, and apparently I'm still holding. Rook f1 check, king e2. Okay, so this is quite scary, but apparently it's equal. But doing this, he can still go rook here. Okay, so my bishop suddenly is hanging after an exchange of rooks. I need to move the bishop out of the way. And here he has a winning shot. Queen b2. He's both attacking the rook and he's threatening mate. It's a double threat. It's a fork, as it were, on my bishop and my rook. It's game over if he does it. I can take his bishop, he takes my rook. It's that simple. So he wins in exchange. Plus he has a big attack. But instead, he goes rook takes rook, queen takes rook. Things get exchanged off. Okay, I'm a pawn down. Still, this should be a little bit tough to hold. Still, maybe this is actually objectively winning for black. But difficult. And maybe if there's one thing I need to do in between seasons, I won't be playing next season, is to really work out how to play pawn endgames. I mean, this is supposed to be winning for black, but it's so hard. b5, for example, is winning. I think that counts as a double exclamation mark. Why is it winning? If I push, he takes, and that pawn is going to be annoying. We'll run, I'll have to go and pick it up, and then he goes and picks up these pawns. So I have to do this. But now he can go... It's not even obvious what the winning plan should be. But, I mean... Okay, so he's now got 3 against 2. I guess it's creating a pass pawn somehow. Well, if you go there, that's bad, because then he's coming in. Yeah, he's got opposition, basically. If you go here, he's coming in the other way. I mean, this is bad, yeah. It's not really anything I can do. Maybe not push. He's still coming in. And white's running out of moves, and he can just come in. So this is actually just completely lost for white, but that's not what happened. Instead, we had... So this pawn is... That's a really bad move, because that closes up the position. So we get this sort of position. I'm trying to maintain some kind of opposition. Okay, I should also say, when I did this, I realized the moment I did it, this is a terrible move, because now he's got this. With the idea, if I take it, because, yeah, the idea is I can't push, or my king is outside the box of this pawn. So now I have to take it. If I push, takes, and this pawn is running. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, if I was here, he could run, he could push, and then I could get inside. But here I'd have to take it, and then... Well, let's say king f6. King g6. Not king h5? Why not king h5? King h5 defends. There. King here. What does he do? g5 loses, but g6 wins. Why? I guess it's about opposition. So he has to take. Takes, and black gets opposition. So it's all about timing that correctly. And black does have the ability to time it. Yeah, that's not really obvious. But I did see that there was a danger of that the moment I moved my king this way. And that's why now you see I didn't move it sideways, I move it up and down because of that worry. Okay, he does this break eventually, but by this time it's a dead draw. b6. He can't approach this pawn, so he has to do something on the king side. But I can just push and close it up. Neither king can penetrate the other side's pawns. If black were to make the mistake of doing this, it's suddenly white winning, because white's got the opposition. It's quite stunning. But white has the opposition, and now black's got the opposition, but white's got the free move. So it's white winning. So you have to be really careful in these pawn endgames. So actually after... yeah, so this is the position: b6, g3, g5, h5. Yeah, so king e7 is a mistake. So in this position, if he just does, even in this position, after this, instead of going king e7, if he does b6, black is winning with immediate pawn here because he'll get opposition. So I push, king g7, king g2, takes, back. So he's maintaining opposition. If I take, he gets opposition, back, and he's winning. If I don't take, if I remain, go back, he advances, king f2, advances, and I can't get opposition because that pawn's in the way. Takes, there we go. And I can't break through, now he's got 2 passed pawns, and so it's completely winning for black. So that was a pretty interesting game. Okay, game 7. And now in game 7, I'm black, and we're in a French defense, just like game 1. But it's more of a, it's called Tarrasch variation, yeah, because he goes knight to d2. So it's more of a traditional French defense, not like the Bourdonnais of game 1. And also, because he goes knight d2, I can't play my queen a5 nonsense. So I go for this sort of thing. Closing up, is that, maybe that's not such a smart thing to do. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure about it. It's possible. Yeah, the danger of closing up would be if white has an e4 break, but there are no pawns on the e file. But having said that, I can't play this immediately because the queen's in the way, so I'm not sure if it's... But actually, yeah, okay. This is playable in this position simply because I've got a lockdown on this b3 square, and I guess that's the reason I played it, just to lock down that square. And you'll see as the game progresses, I'm going to lock it down even more. Okay, so just going right back again to the beginning, knight e2. Knight e2 is not opening theory. It's quite unusual. It blocks up white's bishops. It's not bad. It's not particularly bad, but it's not like no one ever plays it. And apparently, maybe the best way for black to approach it would be to play something like this. It's not winning a pawn, but it's just you're rerouting the light squared bishop to a really nice place. And black's got a very pleasant game. Not a pawn down, but just very pleasant position. It's like positional compensation worth a pawn. But instead I play queen b6, which looks like a more traditional move. A3. And again, now you have to be very careful. You do not play this. And I knew not to play this. This would give black a free pawn, but would be losing because you have worse position. So I wasn't going to fall into that trap of just getting the sort of the tempting pawn. So instead I play bishop d7 to stop that. Takes, knight f3. Okay, c4, clamping down on b3. Knight f4. Knight f6, defending the undefended d5 pawn. Queen to c2. Bishop to d6, attacking that knight. Yeah, and I did actually sense there is a possibility here of white sacrificing a piece, 2 pawns, and a really nice position, big center and so on. But it's, yeah, it probably is not worthwhile. It's just it's an idea in the position. Now good knight a5, which is fine, but queen c7 first was a better move. If I just run through this line, queen c7, the knight's under attack, then knight a5, bring the knight in, castles. A very nice position to play for black. Only slight advantage, but very nice. Knight a5 first is okay, the idea of going here, but the problem is, yes. So the knight a5, so this move is a tempter. White should just play rook b1, and this is perfectly fine for both sides. I play queen c7, takes. This is, okay, I don't know if I castle queen. That's one possibility. Another possibility is I move the bishop to a4. This is something else I could do. Queen f5, castles kingside. Okay. I think maybe that's, yeah, okay, so both are playable. I could also take this dark square bishop. I mean, this is just another way. Ooh, yeah, that's a bit of a risky way of playing things. Yeah, I'm just skimming through that. So apparently that is better for black, but that's a little bit of a high-risk approach. So knight takes bishop. You lose this pawn. Takes, and you're just saying, well, I'm not going to get mated. Okay, I mean, this is just very risky. Okay, but instead, knight here, you have to check the tactics. You're tempting knight takes bishop, knight takes rook, knight takes queen, check. Hopefully up in exchange. And that's exactly what happened in the game. And I thought this would be good for black. So when my opponent thinks for 5 to 10 minutes and then plays it, I'm like, really? And then he doesn't take my queen. So actually in this position, black even quite likes just taking back the knight with the king. But I was like, no, I want this exchange. And then he doesn't even take the exchange. He goes to the check. I'm happy to exchange off queens because I'm material up, and my knight will then just retreat to b3. Yeah, so in this position he should have probably just gone queen b1 and takes, sort of this sort of line. Black's pawn structure is completely messed up, so white's got good compensation for the exchange. Apparently, yeah, safer king, better pawn structure, apparently even winning. Black king just simply has nowhere to go. The king side is open, the queen side is open, just look at that bishop, and the center is open. So this is actually really good for white. And probably really fun to play, but you are down an exchange. Just the black king's got nowhere to go. So yeah, this is winning for white. But instead he he didn't play queen b1, instead he went queen to a4, and I offer an exchange of queens. Of course he doesn't take it because I'm an exchange up. He goes for this pawn. Okay, so he gets a pawn. Now I'm thinking I'm going to get this piece. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm going to get a piece for these two pawns. I'm thinking that's a nice deal. But I should have exchanged off queens here, even though you can take back the knight. And yeah, now this knight's going to be hard to rescue, but it's possible to rescue it. Yeah, and this would have been good for black. But instead, I'm a little bit worried about that knight. So yeah, another variation is knight, this sacking back the piece. Oops. This would have been another possible line, also good for black. But no, okay, so I just take this knight. I allow this queen takes f7 check. Yeah, yeah, this is it. This is key. This is a key point in the match. He takes the pawn. He's threatening queen takes f7 check, which of course I notice, but I'm like, it's not mate. And so I take this knight. What we both missed in the game, and I was just shocked to see the computer analysis afterwards, is this is just simply hanging a queen fork. And even losing the queen, actually, black is doing okay. It's sort of three pieces even for the queen. Black is doing okay, but he's not doing okay because he's got bad pawn structure. And look at those three pieces. They're not coordinated. None of them are hanging immediately. Yeah, they're uncoordinated from a human standpoint. This feels completely losing. Okay, I've got three pieces for the queen, but they're not good pieces. White's just going to castle, and it's very difficult to work out how to get this knight out and so on. Not immediately castle, but yeah, this is going to be really difficult to play, but actually for both sides. But I think black harder. But he went instead for the sort of mate-looking queen takes f7, but there is no mate. The black king is very weak, but I can consolidate. Queen takes pawn doesn't. Yeah, the pawn is defended by the queen. So yeah, so just consolidating, grabbing the file, giving away the exchange because I'm two pieces up. I'm happy to give away the exchange. So in the rest of the game, he's trying to trap my knight. So I'm just trying to get out. And again, now I can get out, but he's just created a new trap for my knight. So I'm a little bit concerned because if I'm only a piece up, I'm also down quite a lot of pawns. So I really want to have these two pieces. But the thing is, it's quite hard for him to trap my knight completely because it can run around a little bit. It's got a little bit too much space. Check, check. And so what it is, I'm just going to reroute to here, and this is impossible to stop now. Takes, and now I've got two pieces. Okay, he's still trying, because of course, I don't want to have to do a knight and bishop against king checkmate, even though I can do it. It'd be nice if I had a pawn. Okay, he's given me a runner, and eventually I sort him out. Checkmate. So he made me work hard, but the key point in that match was missing the queen fork, which we both were shocked at to discover later. So it was an interesting tactic to win an exchange, which he sort of saw coming, but actually a queen b1 instead would have been better. And then here, yeah, in this game he missed this move. and then I would not have been happy. Okay, and then the final game. I am black against Nars, N-A-R-Z. Nars was probably the player of the league. He wins 7 games out of 7 on board 2, so hats off to him. And I'm afraid I couldn't break. He was 6 out of 6, and I couldn't break in the 7th game. His 7th game, I couldn't break 7 out of 7. So, or was it 8 out of 8? I don't know. He won all his games basically. So, what I did, I knew that he was good, and so what I did for this game is I decided to play something I've never played before. I played the puck. And I was sort of expecting an Austrian attack, but he didn't go down that route. And I know that you're supposed to play c6, b5, but I decided to play this instead. I don't know, I just felt more comfortable having both bishops on some nice diagonals. And I felt with this move, d5, success. I've opened up the dark squared bishop diagonal by having this light squared bishop diagonal kind of annoying him sufficiently. But the move I missed in this position is c6. So you see, I knew that if white ever plays e5, I want to break up this center. What I didn't know is that if white plays d5, I also want to break up this center. Again, so I play c5. I'm thinking this is great. I've got all this space on the queen side. I'm happy. I'm going to go on a queenside attack. Again, what I didn't realize is, again, I'm supposed to break up the center. I was thinking he's going to castle queenside. He's going to have a big, queen and rook down the center. I'm not really ready for it yet. Actually, it doesn't matter. e6 is good. I mean, nothing in Opening Explorer. But e6 is good. It'll break up the center. Both my bishops are going to be alive. Really, really good for black. But I didn't see that. So instead I do knight here, rerouting. Okay, so in this position, f5. And again, it's one of those positions. Do you take with the pawn, the knight, the bishop, or the rook? Such a tough decision. And the reason I didn't take with the knight, which looks possible, is because I'm afraid of knight here, coming into here. Okay, I can defend. But just still looked hard. I mean, he can still go knight here and have a pawn on e6, which looks a little bit nasty. Why not take with the rook? Well, taking the rook's what I did in the end. Why not take with the bishop? Why not take with the pawn? Yeah, so the thing is, if I don't take, yeah, h5 is always a threat. So taking the pawn felt good because it defends the knight entry point. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Yeah, taking the pawn is actually terrible because it's a bad pawn structure. Sure, you can move your knight in or something, but what does he do? He's just blowing open your king, and it's very bad. You're going to get checkmated, basically. So that's not good. Taking with the knight at least provides some cover of h5, so that's why that's slightly better. Taking with the rook is what I did in the game, and of course h5 is coming. And maybe his mistake is probably like not playing his attack quick enough, and this is the same problem as my mistake. Even my attack's a little bit slow. Okay, I'm willing to sack the exchange just to try and get my attack moving. Okay, he defends the mate on g2, so I just try and double up on it. He realizes that there's a bit of a threat there, so he exchanges off. And he is an exchange up. Okay, I block off the g file. Okay, so now I have an exchange down, so my idea is let's get some activity. In this position, I could just defend and he could just exchange down, but I go for just activity. Also, if he takes with the bishop, it just felt good. I mean, go here, knight here. I've got threats of knight here, check, winning the rook. I've threatened knight the pawn. I'm threatening this rook. Yeah, I could probably go rook here. Knight takes pawn. I mean, it felt okay. I mean, it felt active. So I went for a very was playing here really. We're both maybe 10-15 minutes, but I was trying to play really active moves that made him think, to get him low on time and give me some chances. So I just play this. Okay, it loses a pawn, but I was just really keen on playing active play, and I think to some extent it paid off. Just as I said, just trying to get activity, I attack his rook, and this is very tricky, because if the rook moves, I've got knight here. If the rook moves to here, I've got bishop takes knight, and no. If the rook moves here, I have, oh yeah, I've got this knight here check, winning the rook. So he's losing an exchange here, and he recognizes that. So he loses the exchange, but what I didn't realize is that I'm having difficulty holding on to these pieces. I could move the bishop back, but I thought I could win a pawn. Oops. Okay. I thought I could win a pawn somehow. So I go for this very active play, which wins me back the exchange. So I'm feeling quite good about myself right here. Maybe at this point I should have just gone, bishop f3 to try and win that pawn, or bishop back even suggests. But I'm thinking, yeah, let's just move in with my pieces. The problem is that knight it's not so stable. In fact, it's not stable at all. I thought I could take this pawn, but attack. Oops, my knight is suddenly trapped. Yeah, it can't retreat. The knight is covering all the escape squares. So suddenly my knight is trapped. What do I do? Again, I just have to do active. Okay, I'm a piece down, but I've got better pawn structure. But this extra piece, I realize if he continues to develop, okay, I'm got a nice setup, everything's defended. Maybe I can push my pawns. But I do realize, like, his knights are very tricky and can fork me at any moment. I've got to, every move, got to be really careful not to get forked. Okay, but I feel I'm doing okay. Okay, I take a pawn, but this is my mistake. I take a pawn too many. I realize this is forking my king and bishop, but I thought that's no problem. I just move my king out of the way, but I didn't realize the rook can move in and he's winning a piece. So I have to do this just to give away the rook, and now I'm a full rook down. Okay, I can push my pawns, but this is all over. The rooks are going to mop up. The rook's going to mop up all the pawns. So that's game 8 of my Lichess 45-45 first ever attempt at the Lichess 45-45 League. Hi there, Splasher, in the Twitch chat. How do I study? I do puzzles, basically. And when I have a particular opponent in the Lichess 45-45 League, I looked at what they played against what I normally play. And the way I studied was I would train in that opening. Although in practice I didn't necessarily, I never played this particular position, but I would train. I'd train against Stockfish in this sort of position to try and see what sort of moves I should play. And I might look at also a few games of the Masters to try and to work out the themes of a particular position. But then you play some games and you still realize that you're not playing things correctly. So key ideas you still miss. So in this, I really didn't do much wrong in this game, apart from right in the opening. You have to challenge the center in the pack. I knew that if they play e5, you have to break down the center. I was really happy with d5. I didn't realize that even if they play d5, you have to challenge that central pawn and break down that center. So that was a lesson in the pack, which was a new opening for me. So I played a couple of games in the Lone Wolf as well. I lost against 1600, which wasn't too fun. I was playing pretty okay, actually, but I mean, I might as well share. I'm not going to play any more Lone Wolf. For now, I've enjoyed, not for a few weeks maybe, because I'll be quite busy, but yeah, I was black in this position. I thought I was doing quite nicely. Yeah, I guess this is a key point in the game for me. I could just take a free pawn, and then if he tries to take this pawn, I've got a rook come in and pin. I could also have this computer move, bishop d3, which I had a feeling about, but I wouldn't necessarily have thought of doing it when there's a sort of free pawn on offer. The free pawn looked too tempting. But yeah, bishop d3 was really the move in this position. He would do something like this. Yeah, this would have been the the way to play it. But obviously, this is how the computer plays it. Bishop takes d4 is my original plan. This is really very simple and winning. He can't take, but he can do other moves. He could just move the bishop back, and white's not doing it too badly, but this is still really winning for white. This is what I should have played. Anyway, instead I do this knight. It looks really nice. Maybe I can move the bishop in here next move. Maybe I can move the knight in here next move. Unfortunately, it just castles, just defends against that, and then suddenly e7 is not protected by the threat of a pin. So suddenly he can do bishop takes e7, and I mean, black's still doing fine, but it's just like, it's not easy to see how to continue. So apparently this would be a way of continuing. Just takes, check, takes back. Yeah, this would be the way of continuing. The queen is defended by a knight fork, and now now both the rook and the bishop are under attack, and so yeah, black would be winning. Yeah, I didn't spot that idea, and I made two fatal errors in a row. The first was to defend this pawn with the bishop, which destroys my pawn structure, because I can go bishop takes, bishop, pawn takes, and my pawn structure is messed up. That was a bad move. Should have defended with the queen. And the second is, at this point, I still think I'm winning. So I go for winning the exchange. And here he has just mate in a few with bishop e5. I mean, this is just resigns immediately. Just no way of stopping mate. But he missed it. So it's only now I realize. Well, I saw it. I did see it during the game, but it's only now I actually realize. Okay, I won exchange up, but I'm completely losing. I want to give back that exchange. Oh, I've just lost a piece as well. So I'm a piece down, and I'm just trying to fight a piece down, and I'm fighting, but he plays well, and he eventually gets me. I mean, I was trying to go for some kind of mating net, but he's the one who gets me in a mating net with a nice mate at the end. And I just played another game as well in round 2 of the Lone Wolf. Very nice game. I don't know if I analysed this, but this is quite key. In this position, takes. This pawn is under attack. F4, and black is winning. Sorry, white is winning. Because the black central pawn is just dropping, and black can't stop it. Instead, I go for this pawn immediately, and I had a choice. Do I move the queen out of the way? Go for some kind of... Yeah. But I'm afraid of the file. I want to control the file, so I do this. I don't want an exchange of rooks, and then he takes the file, so I'm making sure I'm defending the d1 square. And now I'm pinning the knight to the king, just being a little bit annoying, creating some luft for my king. And at this point, I'm attacking the pawn, and I'm thinking, this is quite nice, because I've got now a pin on this knight, potentially winning the knight. Okay, I'm losing this pawn, so I can't take the knight because queen takes rook. But here I thought, that's okay, I've got rook here, and he has to move the queen to defend that knight, and then I can double up the rooks. But he has a nice tactic to save himself. Takes, check, and then he can win back that rook. Whatever I do, he can win back the rook for the knight. So since he's winning it back anyway, I decide to lose it like this. Okay, and now it's queen against queen pawns against queen pawns, but I'm a pawn down. But this is a draw. I don't play it well, but we agree a draw. It's still a draw, but again, I need to learn how to play pawn endgames. I need to learn how to play queen and pawn against pawn queen endgames. But there was a crazy tactic in this position. Instead of going here, another way of playing it, it's kind of a piece sack way of playing it, is like this, with the idea of rook b1, queen c2, That's not, yeah, that wasn't what I was expecting, but okay. Takes. I was thinking rook takes knight. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Queen takes rook check, king here. Yeah. Oh, so is this actually even winning for white? Yeah, so if black takes back with the pawn, this is actually winning for white. Because of queen, rook, okay, rook, queen d6. I guess it's just the more active, the black king is unsafe. And that's eventually, even though white's, yeah, I think that's the problem. But interestingly, if black does king takes bishop, so keeps the queen, so keeps the piece. Yeah, so if you take with the pawn, the problem is this piece is hanging. But if you take with the king, this piece isn't hanging. You could get a repetition if the queen tries to come back, protecting the knight. Yeah, how does white get a repetition? So queen here. Suppose the king comes back. What's the idea? I'm trying to work out how white even gets a draw here. Because we have lost a piece. Okay, so we could go g4, but he could try and hold on to the piece. Rook d3. You could take a pawn here. Okay, so it looks like he can't really hold on to the piece, but he can win some pawns. And exchange off queens, because he realizes his king is not so safe, so he wants to exchange off queens. Can't really stop it. Now those two pawns look dangerous, but apparently, yeah, I've also got two pawns up on this side of the board. So white apparently can hold a draw in this position. Okay, so that's yeah. I can't play any games right now. I'm about to start commentary on a Crazy House World Championship match, so I'm going to tune out, retitle it, and tune back in again. So see you in 3 minutes for a Crazy House World Championship match, round 5. The winner will go into the candidates of the Crazy House World Championship. I can't play. I'm about to do commentary on a Crazy House World Championship match. So do join me. I'm going to close the stream and reopen a new stream with CWC commentary. See you soon. This is OK signing out.